South of San Francisco, near Monterey, the ocean endlessly pounds at the shoreline, creating one of the most serene and beautiful settings anywhere. Today, only a few miles inland, Bobby Rahal will be trying to hang on to his kart points lead and become the first driver in Laguna Seca history to win 3 consecutive races. Although his lead in the PPG Series is only a single point, he's having a great year. What do his fellow drivers think of his success?
Well, it's good for him, isn't it? That's all I can think of. It's not very good for us, not at the moment yet.
Obviously, it's fantastic. Seasons like that are the ones you dream about.
Basically, I'm jealous, and it really upsets me. But he's doing a tremendous job. You know, like I said, I've been in that position before and having a season like he's having, and it's a great feeling, so he's earned it.
I trade places right now with him.
Potential Rahal challenger today is Rick Mears, a third last weekend in the rain at Elkhart Lake. This weekend, his Chevy-powered Penske chassis turned in the third quickest qualifying speed. Rick has not yet won this year. Today could be the day. Mario Andretti will lead the field to a green flag in today's Champion Spark Plug 300 from Laguna Seca. Welcome you to Monterey, California, and the Champion Spark Plug 300 IndyCar race. The weather has improved greatly in just the past few hours. It's been cool and cloudy all week long. However, now the sun is out and it's warmed up to a pleasant 69 degrees. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. After this IndyCar race today, only 2 more remain. And going into this event, Bobby Rahal has only a 1-point advantage on Michael Andretti in the point standings, and Danny Sullivan is third in the point standings. With me for today's IndyCar race will be IndyCar driver Derek Daly. This was a tremendous race last year, and we have seen tremendous speed increase just from last year.
Indeed, Bob, I think speed is the operative word for 8 of the drivers here this weekend, because 8 have broken Mario Andretti's track record, and of course Mario came back and set the pole with another new track record here.
A guy we will definitely be keeping our eye on today is Rick Mears. He ran well last weekend at Elkhart Lake. He has qualified 3rd fastest for this race in the Ilmor Chevy Penske.
This Chevrolet Penske chassis seems to get stronger with almost every outing, and every session he ran here, Rick was always up the front and always very strong. So we definitely look for him to be in the top 3 all day.
Back for its 3rd appearance of 1986 is the American Eagle with Dan Gurney. It's done well here in qualifying. For more on that story, let's go to Gary Lee, who'll be working the pit area for us today. Gary?
Thank you, Bob, Derek, and good afternoon. Indeed, this race does mark the return of the All-American Eagle. This is the Eagle that was grounded after it failed to make the Indy 500 last May. It's been collecting dust in the Dan Gurney Santa Ana shops until about 2 weeks ago, when a deal was struck between Andy Kinopensky of the Machinist Union and Dan Gurney to dust it off and bring it out, with some financial help from Frank Arciero, Schaefer Beer, and Night and Day Heating and Air Conditioning. Jan Lammers qualified for the 12th starting position outside the 6th row. When I asked if they would go ahead and conclude the season with the Eagle, I was told, well, it depends. It depends on how well Lammers, the Dutchman, does here today, and if we can get some more financial backing. It is evident, though, that Andy Kinopensky is dedicated to having this American-built chassis in IndyCar racing. Bob?
All right, thank you, Gary. It's a 98-lap race. The course is 1.9 miles in length. And this Champion Spark Plug 300 is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Without question, this is one of the most beautiful places in all of the United States. And this is one of the most beautiful road courses in all of racing. It's 1.9 miles in length, 9 corners. Derek Daly has more on the track they'll be competing on today.
This is the interesting 9-turn course at Laguna Seca Raceway, which has among its features great elevation changes. I'll take you on a lap with a view from the driver's eye. This is what he sees as he approaches turn 1. It's a left-hand kink taken in 4th gear. He now selects 5th gear for turn 2, which is a very demanding, sweeping left-hand turn. 160 miles an hour up along this short straight here to turn 3. A flat and 5th gear corner, taken at about 160 miles an hour. Up the hill, under the the vehicle, pedestrian bridge, on the brakes momentarily, through another sweeping left-hander taken in 4th gear. He then proceeds to go up this rise. He sees nothing but the sky as he approaches the famous corkscrew turn. Hard on the brakes, 1st gear, a very, very slow turn in. 2nd gear selected just here, and then a tremendous drop as he picks 3rd gear, moves the car to the right-hand side of the road and approaches turn 7, which is a double apex left-hand sweep. Down the hill into turn 8, exits turn 8 right here as fast as he can. Again, very hard on the brakes. Down to turn 9, which they call the hairpin. Again, 1st gear, 2nd gear, 3rd gear, and away the driver starts his next lap.
Several improvements have been made to this racetrack. There is now a concrete wall lining turns 1 through 3, and there is no longer the dirt bank that the drivers had to contend with. So that could have led to the increase in speed that we saw during qualifying here earlier in the week. You can see the field now on the racetrack. The drivers are warming up their tires in preparation for the start of today's Champion Spark Plug 300 from Laguna Seca. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole, qualifying at 128.969, Mario Andretti in the Newman Haas Henna Car Wash Lola car number 5. On the outside of row number 1, the current points leader in the Budweiser True Sports March, Bobby Rahal, car number 3. In the 2nd row, in the Pennzoil Z7 Penske Chevrolet, qualifying at 127.932, car number 1, Rick Mears. The outside of row number 2, Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania in the Craco STP Lean Machine, car number 18. In the 4th row will be the Mellow American Special, driven by Danny Sullivan from Louisville, Kentucky, car number 4. And outside of the 3rd row, in the True Value Emerson March, car number 2, Roberto Guerrero. In the 4th row, car number 8, the Valvoline Spirit Lola, driven by Jeff Brabham. Outside of row number 4 will be Kevin Cogan in the number 711 March. Starting in the 5th row on the inside will be Emerson Fittipaldi, the most recent winner in IndyCar racing, in the number 20 Marlboro March. And outside of row number 5 will be Raul Boisel in car number 22, the Duracell Copper Top Lola. There's Raul. He'll start in 10th position in today's event. Now in row number 6 will be Al Unser Jr. in car number 30, the Domino's Pizza Lola. Outside of the 6th row, Jan Lammers, car 59, the Slakey Night and Day Eagle. The 7th row, the 5-star Marketing Lola, car number 9, driven by Roberto Moreno. And the Living Well Fitness March, car 71, driven by Jacques Villeneuve. The 8th row, the Skoll Bandit number 33, driven by Tom Sneva. And the Skoll Long Cut March, number 66, driven by Ed Pym. The 9th row, Johnny Rutherford in the Vermont American March, number 21, and Ari Lyondike in the number 61 Race for Life March. The 10th row consists of the McCoward Leasing March, car number 12, driven by Jeff McPherson. In his first IndyCar start, Tom Phillips in car number 23, the Duracell Copper Top Lola. The 11th row has Randy Lewis in the number 36 Ray Kim Raynor Lola. Outside of the 11th row, it's Desiree Wilson in the Schaefer Machinist March, car 55. And finally, in row number 12, Dominic Dobson starts the number 24 Leader Card March. Outside of the 12th row, in the number 56 Genesee Beer Wagon March, will be Rocky Moran. Those are your 24 starters. The slowest qualifier was 117.137, and the fastest Mario Andretti at 128.969. Here comes the field down the hill now. They're in turn number 8, headed for the hairpin, corner number 9. The pace car is still out on the racetrack, so it'll be at least one more before we go green.
We see the very familiar weaving of the cars on these pace laps, again, to warm up those tires. The tires for these cars do tend to have a fairly robust, hard rubber compound, so the drivers really do need to scrub some heat into these tires to get very effective handling and braking when they go into the turn 1, 2, and 3 on the opening lap. So a very necessary exercise, even though you don't think the cars are going that fast.
The field moving through turn number 2 now, beginning an uphill climb, which will climax at the beginning of the corkscrew. There is Emerson Fittipaldi in the number 20 Marlboro March. There is the 2-time world driving champion who won the most most recent IndyCar race. As a matter of fact, his first victory in kart competition on a road course. His previous IndyCar win was on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway last year. But just last Saturday, in some very terrible weather conditions, with it raining and foggy and cool, Emerson Fittipaldi held off Michael Andretti and Rick Mears for the win, and Emerson is looking for a win number 2 in a row here this afternoon. Now the cars have made that uphill climb, and they're at the top of the elevation, and now beginning to move into the corkscrew.
Very familiar color scheme, of course, of the Marlboro car. Exactly the same design as the Formula One cars of Alan Prost and Keke Rosberg. So Fittipaldi, possibly the most experienced race driver on the grid here today.
The pace car has pulled into the pit area, and we could be getting a start of this 300-kilometer, 98-lap race in just a moment. Mario Andretti and Bobby Rahal are on the front row. They come through the hairpin, corner number 9. They accelerate coming down the main straightaway, and they get the green flag. We are underway at Laguna Seca.
Almost a perfect copybook start for Mario Andretti. Got the power on exactly the right time and has already pulled 10 car lengths through turns 1 and 2 on Bobby Rahal.
It's Mario, Rahal, Rick Mears, Michael Andretti, and running in, rather Rick Mears and Michael Andretti, and running in 5th position is Danny Sullivan. They climb uphill, headed for corner number 6. Michael will try inside of Rick Mears, and he grabs 3rd position. Michael Andretti has grabbed 3rd now, as the rest of the field springs through the corkscrew, headed downhill now, ready for corner number 8. That's Mario Andretti leading with Bobby Rahal running in 2nd position onto the short straightaway that leads to the hairpin, turn number 9. This is the slowest portion of the racetrack. 1 lap is about to be completed. It's Mario Andretti, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, Rick Mears, Danny Sullivan, and Roberto Guerrero.
We saw the very daring move there by Michael Andretti at the corkscrew. Now this is possibly one of only 2 positions that you can realistically pass cars on this track. This is turn 3 here, which is obviously a very fast sweeping left-hander. Impossible to pass here. This is turn 4, where the drivers only got on the brake for about a fraction of a second and slick down to 4th gear and accelerate up through this long uphill section here. So really under braking here is one of the very few places drivers can make the pass.
There we see Roberto Guerrero running wheel to wheel with Danny Sullivan. Sullivan for the moment holding on to that 5th position, but Roberto Guerrero is right there to give him some heat. There is Rick Mears, followed by Danny Sullivan and Roberto Guerrero once again into the hairpin. 2 laps have been completed now out of 98.
Sullivan started this race in 5th position. However, he was the fastest car on the track during the full tank running, which is the running they do, a 30-minute practice session they do after all the qualifying is over. The drivers put on their race tires, fill the car up with 40 gallons of fuel, and that's really when the true speed of the car is seen. And Sullivan, during that session, was the fastest car on the track. So we think Sullivan may be in a fairly strong position here for this race.
It's always a very good indication of how the car might perform in the race, because they have race trim on the car that is full fuel and so forth, and it's always a good indication of how the car might actually perform under race conditions.
Race settling down now a little bit. About 3 or 4 car lengths between Sullivan and Mears and Sullivan and Guerrero. You see them bunch up a little bit under braking, but however they pull it out under acceleration along this front straight here.
That's Kevin Kogan running right behind Roberto Guerrero, who is right behind Danny Sullivan, who is right behind Rick Mears. And so they are in single file formation here.
Hogan, the number 7, running in 7th place. We can remember last year's IndyCar race, we had a real humdinger of a freight train of 7 or 8 cars running in very close formation.
There is Tom Phillips in car number 23, who is pulling into his pit area. This was the very first Indy's car start ever for Tom Phillips. He has a lot of experience on this racetrack, and Dick Simon, the owner of this car, giving young Tom Phillips the opportunity to taste his first IndyCar experience, but only after 3 laps he pulls the car in for a stop as the rest of the field files by, led by Mario Andretti, looking for another victory in car competition. Bobby Rahal is running in second position, about a half a second behind. We'll be back with more coverage of the Champions Spark Plug 300-kilometer IndyCar race in just a moment.
There have been some important...
With Derek Daly and Gary Lee, this is Bob Jenkins back at Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California for the running of the Champions Spark Plug 300-kilometer IndyCar race. We have completed 6 laps. The leader is Mario Andretti, followed very closely by Bobby Rahal. With only the slimmest margin in points, every move and every make is important to Bobby Rahal. With more on that, let's go to Gary Lee in the pit area.
Well, Bob, you are correct. You know, CART gives 1 point for starting on the pole and 1 point for leading the most laps. Right now, Bobby needs every point he can get to stay out in front of Michael Andretti. So I talked to crew chief Steve Horn. I said, hey, is he trying to push Andretti for the lead? Does he want that extra point? He said, yes, he is running as hard as he can. He wants to lead. He wants to lead the most laps and collect that 1 additional point.
But for the moment, Mario is holding him off, although Bobby is right there on his doorstep. It appeared as if Rahal might make a move on Andretti to the inside going into the corkscrew. And by the way, in the previous races we have seen here today, and there have been 4 previous races, a Super B race and an American Racing Series contest, that is where we have seen most of the passing, believe it or not, is going into that corkscrew. Drivers going to the inside and picking up the position.
Andretti here. That would lead me to suggest that he possibly may have a better car, a faster car, but Laguna Seca is a very, very fast, sweeping type of course. There's not much room to pass, so I don't think Rahal will have an easy time passing such an experienced driver as Mario Andretti, and I don't think Mario, in the position that he's in now, will give Bobby any room whatsoever.
And here's the move. They're wheel to wheel, and Mario has to get off the accelerator onto the brakes and let Rahal squeeze by. We have a new leader. It's Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio. He's taken over that top spot from Mario Andretti. And now Michael Andretti is closing in on his father, looking for second spot.
Well, just as we said it, he did exactly what we said he wouldn't do. Well, he took the chance, he got away with it. The corkscrew, we said earlier on, is the place to do it. I'm surprised he got as much room. I don't think Andretti even expected him to try and make the move there. But Rahal did make it. He does have the lead. Now we can think about building up those amounts of laps needed to get another point to go with to go against Mario's point for the pole position.
Leaders lapping a slower car. This is what happened last lap. Derek, explain it to us.
I think Mario was surprised by this. Mario turns and then turns away again. Is surprised to see Rahal in there. Rahal almost on the dirt on the inside. So that was the type of move that sometimes you get away with and sometimes you don't. I'm surprised Rahal took such a daring move, made such a daring move at this point in the championship, not alone this point in the race. But then again, when a driver is on a hot streak like Rahal is, you tend to get confidence, you tend to take the chances. When you get on a roll, you tend to get away with things.
And now Bobby, it appears, is stretching out the advantage on Mario Andretti and Michael Andretti. Still running in fourth position is Rick Mears. Fifth is Danny Sullivan. Sixth, Roberto Guerrero. Seventh is Kevin Cogan. Eighth is Jeff Brabham. Ninth, Emerson Fittipaldi. And 10th is Al Unser Jr. And 11th is Raul Boisel. 12th, Jan Lammers. 13th, Roberto Moreno. 14th, Tom Sneva. And 15th is Jacques Villeneuve.
You know, Rahal immediately pulls out a couple of 100 yards over Mario, which does show us what we thought earlier on, that he does seem to have a better handling car.
One of the most consistent performers in IndyCar racing this year is into the pits. That is Al Unser Jr. He has come in for a stop. The last 3 races have not been particularly successful for Al Jr. You'll recall he crashed in the rain-aborted Elkhart Lake race. He started last Saturday a lap down to the field, but did do rather well in that race. But now he has come in for an early stop, just as he did at Michigan a few weeks ago on the oval.
Indeed, Bob, at that crash at Elkhart Lake, he did suffer a separated shoulder, and although he says he has no discomfort from it now, I don't think he has a complete healing of that. I'm sure he is driving with some discomfort.
The battle for that that is going on right now is for second position, the Andretti's. Mario in second and Michael in third. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, the problem apparently is either in the spark plugs or the spark box in the Domino Pizza Hot One number 30. Al Jr. on the radio reported a misfire. Right now they're changing the plugs. They'll send him back out. If that doesn't cure it, they'll come in and change the spark box.
Al Unser Jr. sitting very patiently waiting for his crew to find the problem on that race car. Michael Andretti, second in the point standings going into this 300-kilometer event here at Laguna Seca. We talked to him about winning the championship.
Almost anything you do could determine whether you win the big prize money as the national champion.
Well, I guess that's pretty much the way it's been all year. You know, every race, every point you need, and I knew it right from the beginning. And I don't really see myself driving much differently. But you know, you never know. I don't know what it's going to be like if I'm going down to the last race and it's just between me and Bobby or something, or whoever. I don't know how I'm going to drive that race.
Of Michael Andretti, who currently is running in third position behind his father Mario, and the leader of this race, Bobby Rahal. It's been a very clean race to this point. Normally we see some problems develop in the corkscrew before this time, but we've completed 13 laps already, and so far as we know, nobody off course to any degree, and no problems in any of the major sections of the racetrack.
As we watch Mario and Michael here battle it out for second and third place, Rahal is in a very comfortable position. He's stretching his lead by about half a second a lap over the second and third places. So Rahal definitely has his race set up properly sorted out. A half a second a lap over the second and third place man is what Rahal's advantage is at the moment.
Down through the corkscrew area once again. Michael Andretti in the Graco STP lean machine with just a few car lengths between himself and father Mario, who started this race from pole and led the first few laps until Bobby Rahal made the move going into the corkscrew and took over this lead. Both Mario and Michael have 2 wins on the season. Mario's victories came at Portland and at Pocono, and Michael's wins this year have come at Long Beach and at Milwaukee. So we have completed 14 laps now with Bobby Rahal leading here at Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California. Back at Laguna Seca Raceway in the Champion Spark Plug 300 IndyCar race. And there is the American Eagle, prepared by Dan Gurney and driven by Jan Lammers. Lammers currently is being shown in 11th position. He started the race in 12th. And his best finish here at Laguna Seca was 5th last year in his rookie season.
Wilson just being lapped here by Michael Andretti. Desiree Wilson not having a good weekend here. She had many problems during practice, had electrical problems, didn't get enough track time, and very early in this race we see her lapped.
So the leaders are winding their way through the slower traffic as both Mario and Michael now approach the number 36 car driven by Randy Lewis, and Mario and Michael will both pass him going into the corkscrew as Lewis very sportsmanlike moving over and letting the faster cars by.
Traffic, of course, is a major problem at a circuit that is as fast as this but as narrow as this. There's very fast swooping corners, and really you have to know who you're racing against, because when you're in the lead bunch of cars and you come to pass a slower car, you have to have a lot of confidence in the driver to hope that he sees where you are, and if he does see you, that he won't make the wrong move as you go by, because you completely commit yourself when you go by.
Tom Sneva, we will tell you, has come in for a pit stop, and it looks like this is something other than a routine stop as they are making some chassis adjustments and have the left front off that car.
Bleeding the brakes, so maybe Tom got on the brakes a little bit too hard too soon with the 40 gallons of fuel on board. When you fill these cars full of fuel, they get so much heavier that the loading on the brakes makes the brakes overheat sometimes. So perhaps Tom maybe used them a little bit too hard early in the race and maybe boiled the fluid. That's why you see the mechanic bleeding on the brakes again.
The Skoal Bandits Circle K march in the pit area on the racetrack. It's still a good contest for second position as Mario and Michael continue to run very close together on the racetrack. While they are doing so, Bobby Rahal has opened up a bit of an advantage in first place. Now, Derek, you led us on an excellent description of the track, but you can see as we have the various camera positions how they have made improvements here at Laguna Seca. This concrete wall running on the outside of the track is new this year, and it eliminates that dirt bank that they've had to contend with the last few years here.
That's right. I think the main reason they put this in, and you see it on the right side as the cars come up that hill on the left side now of the picture, it's basically for safety reasons. If in the event of an accident, this concrete wall will retain the accident on the track. You really don't want to have the cars flying over a flimsy barrier or anything like that. So really from a safety point of view, that's a very good move. Also, at turn 2, which is the first of the very fast sweeping left-handers, they've taken away a curve on the exit, and that has actually widened the corner and made it safer. Now, Mario Andretti last year had an enormous collapsing accident when he hit that curve, and the car literally went end over end. So really, they widened and made it faster, but in turn made it safer.
And turn number 2 is right there that you're watching right now. The cars move through. And there is Michael Andretti, who is running in third spot behind his father and Bobby Rahal. Still in fourth position is Rick Mears in the Chevy Ilmore Penske chassis. The corner workers signaling to the slower cars to heed the faster cars behind him. Al Unser Jr., it appears, is back on the racetrack, but he is several laps down after coming in for probably a spark box problem, or at least something that was causing the engine to miss.
Whatever the problem is, it's not cured yet, because he's obviously making his way slowly back to the pits. That electrical problem that Al Unser Jr. has is obviously not sorted yet.
And here is the 7th and 8th place contenders, Kevin Cogan, brother Jeff Brabham in the 7th position, and right behind him is Emerson Fittipaldi. Now, Jeff Brabham has been driving on occasion this year the Honda engine in this Lola chassis. However, this weekend they decided to go with the Cosworth.
That's right. The Honda is proving to be a very reliable and powerful engine, and Jeff is very much a fan of this Honda engine. However, with so many races back-to-back, the teams physically do not have enough engines. This is the first season they've built IndyCar engines, and they just haven't got enough numbers to keep just throwing new engines at this car during practice or qualifying. So they've elected to run the Honda again at Phoenix, but for this race, Jeff goes back to the Cosworth.
And there, once again, is Emerson Fittipaldi, the two-time world driving champion, going down the hill into corner number 8.
So successful last week in the rain at Elkhart Lake, but has been about a half a second off the pace here all weekend. Now, you think half a second is nothing. A man as talented as Emerson can make that up, but really he can't. His talents are used in practice to make this car go fast, to make the car do the work. They just didn't quite get the speed out of this car. So Emerson's running about a half a second off the pace all weekend.
Look at this average speed after 20 laps, considerably higher than the record pace, and that's generally because we have had no yellows. It's been full green since we dropped the green flag 21 laps ago. Unfortunately, there will be no television coverage of that Elkhart Lake race, which was concluded last weekend. But Derek, you were in that race, and we hope that everybody saw the video that we had on Speed Week. And believe me, I don't understand how you guys did it, because the visibility sometimes in that race, it seemed, was just almost zero.
It was just one of those days when you get into traffic and the spray becomes so bad, sometimes you literally cannot see anything. You just hope that nothing goes wrong ahead of you, because you have no way of avoiding it.
Second and third position here, Mario and Michael. They've been running in that order for several laps now.
Michael's driving very, very hard, because that rumble strip curving on the outside of turn 4, which is there to deter the drivers from running too wide, Michael uses it all the time. So although it can do damage to the car, Michael is on the limit all the time, using the curve, which means he has no time to spare. He has nothing in hand.
22 laps completed, the top 5. Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti, Michael Andretti, Rick Mears, and Danny Sullivan. Back with more right after this. Monterey, California at Laguna Seca Raceway, where the 300-kilometer IndyCar race is underway with 24 out of 98 laps completed, and Bobby Rahal still hanging on to the lead. Al Unser Jr. has not won a race this year. He is so high in the point standings because of his consistency. But things have not gone well here in this race. Here's Gary Lee.
Well, certainly you can see the disappointment in Al's face. The season has just kind of fallen apart the past few weeks.
Well, our finishing record has kind of gone downhill this last couple races, but you know, Domino's Pizza Team Shearson done a great job all year, and you know, I figure every 11 races you got to have two DNFs, and so we've had our 2 DNFs out of about 17 or 18 races.
What put you out this time?
I didn't hear you.
What put you out? What was the problem?
There's something in the manifold. We tried changing the spark plugs and then the spark box, and it just was missing and backfired. And then now we think it's something in the manifold.
All right, you've had your DNFs for the season. Time for a good finish next week at Phoenix.
That's right.
All right, Al Unser, a spectator.
Al was on a streak there. Beginning the second race of the year, he put together 11 straight races in which he finished in the top 10. His best finish, of course, the second place at San Air. But in the last 2 at Michigan, he was 21st, and at Elkhart Lake last week he was 11th, and is going to be among the bottom finishers in this race here this weekend.
It's so hard for a driver to talk to a TV man after a situation like that, because particularly Al, when he's chasing the championship, there is just not only the race on the line, the whole season is on the line. Next season is on the line. So much depends on the mechanical abilities of the machine, and really it can be devastating when something is so simple. Probably can be a $2 or $3 piece goes wrong, but there's nothing the driver can do, but he, in a way, has to answer to all the questions that are asked after that. So a very, very difficult situation for a driver, but for someone so young as Al Jr., he handles himself intensively on or off the track.
Leaders lapping Johnny Rutherford. You mentioned next year, Derek, and I think one of the most interesting things about IndyCar racing at this point in the season is the lack of rumors and changes that we know of for next year. Of course, NASCAR has also many, many changes that we already know about for 1987, but IndyCar racing is kind of quiet at this point.
It is quiet indeed. The silly season hasn't really started. We heard some sort of a press rumor during the weekend about a rift between Danny Sullivan and Roger Penske. Danny assures us that is only just the press making up stories. However, the silly season usually should be in full swing now, but I think the fact that it isn't shows the stability that IndyCar racing is now gaining. And with next year's TV schedule, I think it can only be said that the teams and the drivers and the stability of the whole series is just getting stronger and stronger with every meeting.
Rick Mears is running in 4th place in that Gilmore Chevrolet engine in the Penske chassis. Of course, testing is very important to any successful IndyCar team. We talked to Rick about that.
You've done probably more test laps in this circuit than anybody else. Just how important is that testing to going fast here?
Well, it's important not just, you know, so much on the laps itself as far as driving on track. It's, you know, in an afternoon you can get dialed in as far as the driving end of it. But it helps on setting the car up. That's the main thing, you know, that really helps on. Obviously, the more time you spend on the track, the more things you can experiment with to make changes to try to make gains.
Just as we were hearing those comments from Rick Mears, he comes in for a pit stop, 28 laps completed, and I would have to consider this a routine pit stop. Oh, he killed the engines. They're going to have to get that car refired and back Rick up, and that is a very disappointing situation for Mears. Now they have fire in the engine once again, and he pulls out, but he lost valuable time there when the engine stalled.
Valuable seconds there. He didn't make any adjustments to the car except put on new tires, so maybe this is a strategy move by Penske. He will be the classic master at making the right move at the right time. However, the killing the engine definitely lost him probably 10 or 12 seconds, and that may be costly for the strategy move.
Well, as you can see, he has gone a lap down as Bobby Rahal passed him there in corner number 3. Rick Mears a lap down to the leaders. There is Jan Lammers. Another car running in the top 10, Roberto Guerrero, has come in for a pit stop. So we are beginning to see now the start of the routine pit stops. Guerrero's crew going to work on the car. Now they're finishing up, and Guerrero is moving back out onto the racetrack. He was in the top 10, but of course will fall a few positions now because of that stop.
Roberto Guerrero has not really been on the pace here at all this weekend either. Since Lee Dykstra has joined the team as the engineering force, they really have made tremendous gains. They've become consistent. Roberto, who is always capable of running up front, has been consistently up front, and really it's a bit of a surprise to see that he isn't quite on the pace as he normally is.
Now Rick Mears' teammate on the Penske team, I should say, comes in for a stop. He has a tear-off there on the windscreen of his helmet. He tears it away. The rubber is being changed. The fuel is going in. It's going to be a good pit stop. 14.5 seconds, and Danny Sullivan roars back into competition.
Very, very good pit stop for Sullivan. Of course, he is in the very end pit, which makes it much easier for him to accelerate hard away from his pit immediately up to full speed.
Bobby Rahal still out on the race course, choosing to stay out there and wait a couple of more laps before he comes in for his first pit stop of the afternoon. Bobby Rahal has been leading this race since he took over the advantage from Mario Andretti. And speaking of Mario, here he comes. And the Newman Haas team goes to work. Rubber being changed at the front end of the car. Johnny Rutherford is also in, parking right ahead of Mario Andretti. It's not going to be as nearly as quick a stop as Danny Sullivan's was. It's about a... Well, it looks like perhaps the wrench has become disconnected from the hose. Was that what happened, Derek?
Yes, we could hear the airline did actually come off the hose. You heard the air escape there, but also Mario put all 4 tires on. You can see the white stickers on the tires. He put all 4 brand new tires on that car.
There is Bobby Rahal, who still is not coming in for the stop. So about a 10-second difference between Danny Sullivan's stop and Mario Andretti's.
Andretti did take all 4 tires. Sullivan took only 3, so maybe that might be a key to why Mario was a little bit slower. Usually they would take 3 tires. If the car's on handling properly, they'll take 4. So I think Mario possibly had a handling difficulty that he wanted to try and get rid of with a new set of tires. As we see Rahal put a second lap on the number 36 Raynor car of Randy Lewis.
Now some tight competition at the top of the corkscrew as Johnny Rutherford moves over and lets the faster cars pass. Now Rick Mears right behind Johnny Rutherford, and Randy Lewis also moving over and letting Rahal by. Rahal and the second place Michael Andretti, neither one have come in for their first pit stop, and Rahal will not do so on this lap either. The advantage that Rahal has on Michael Andretti is now up to about 9.5 seconds.
Bobby Rahal there, because I think he possibly should have moved over, because through these very fast sweeps he will be very much slower, but Rahal won't be able to get by.
Now here is Michael Andretti in for the stop, the second place runner, getting a drink of water as the crew is working on the car, getting the fuel in and the tires changed. The clock ticks away. It's now over 15. Make that 16 seconds. It's not going to be a particularly fast pit stop, but not that bad either. Just slightly over 19 seconds, and Michael Andretti rejoins the race.
On these first pit stops, they usually try and judge the fuel consumption as exactly as possible. So Rahal is the last man to come in, so that would suggest that he is getting better fuel mileage than any other of the leading cars, which may play an important part toward the end of this race.
Michael getting up to speed as Bobby Rahal comes in now for the stop. His pit is located up near the entrance to the pits. Here's Gary Lee.
Stop's right on the money, as had been planned about 33 or 34 laps in. A 4-tire change. They'll top off the fuel. Apparently no adjustments being made to the cockpit. Again, we told you that Bobby wants to lead as many laps as possible to get that extra point. It's off to Jackson. Bobby Rahal is underway.
17.8 seconds, and we have a crash. A car into the tire barrier. We are unable to tell you exactly who it is.
It looks like Dominic Dobson. I think it is Dominic Dobson in the Watson march. We can't see if he's made hard contact with the wall. It doesn't look as if he has. There's a lot of smoke coming from the back of the engine, which would suggest a possible mechanical failure, but Dominic Dobson, number 24, his day is done.
Well, it could very well be that he didn't make contact with the barrier at all. He could have just parked there after the engine let go. Nevertheless, Dominic Dobson is out of this race. Back with more from Laguna Seca right after this. Champion Spark Plug 300-kilometer IndyCar race underway at Laguna Seca Raceway, Monterey, California. 36 laps in the books out of 98, and the first series of pit stops have been completed with Bobby Rahal hanging on to the advantage. It's about a 9-second advantage for Bobby Rahal over Michael Andretti. Danny Sullivan is running third, Jeff Brabham is fourth, and Mario Andretti is fifth. So a good performance here in the early going by Jeff Brabham, who you'll remember ran very well here last year before he retired and finished in 10th position with an engine problem just about 3 laps from the finish. So there's Bobby Rahal, who has managed to complete his first series of pit stops and retain about a 9.5-second lead on Michael Andretti.
Rahal has such a slim lead in the point standings. It's hard to believe because he's had such an incredible run in the past 3 or 4 races. He almost makes things look easy, and this team goes about its business in such an orderly and controlled fashion. I can only think that they're reaping the benefits of the past couple of years of foundation of engineering-wise and mechanics, and now they set such a good foundation for this team. Now it almost looks easy. I know racing is never easy, but Rahal and Rahal's True Sports team almost make it look easy.
He is looking for win number 6 this year in IndyCar racing. His wins have come, of course, at Indianapolis, at Toronto, at Mid-Ohio, at San Air, and in the Michigan 250. Last weekend at Elkhorn Lake, Road America, he finished in 5th spot. Tom Sneva is being lapped by Bobby Rahal going into corner number 8.
Tom, very much the gentleman there, actually backs off the power because Rahal shot by him on that short straight. Sneva may still have some of that braking problem that we saw him in the pits for earlier on.
We're timing the interval between first and second. Actually, that was not between first and second, but only between Rahal and Tom Sneva. There is Michael Andretti. Our information up here in the booth from kart timing and scoring indicates about a 9.5-second advantage, and Sneva is in trouble. He spins off course and comes in contact with the tire barrier. Tom Sneva, I don't believe, made hard contact with the tires, but nevertheless, he has damage there at the front end of the car, and it looks like the day is over for Tom Sneva.
The gas man has become the sand man again. We didn't quite see how it all started. However, he did lose it coming out of turn 2. Now, turn 2 is where the modifications have been made to the circuit, where they've actually taken the curb away on the outside and widened the exit. It has made it safer and faster, but Sneva obviously got it wrong somewhere, and he may be in more trouble because we have a turbo fire in the back of Sneva's car, which nobody has seen yet. Now the fire marshal does see it. He is aware of it, and he will call a proper fire marshal.
So Tom Sneva from Paradise Valley, Arizona, not in any particular hurry to get out of the car. Here it is, Derek, again.
It's actually turn 4, and what Sneva did was got a little bit too wide and put the outside tires, particularly the rear, onto the dirt, lost the grip completely. The car was out of control, and then he could do nothing except ride it out and hope that he doesn't make hard contact with anything. He did make contact enough to possibly break the car, not very much, but enough to put him out of the race. And Tom Sneva in the pits earlier on, now in the barrier.
Sneva has climbed out of that car, takes off the gloves, and he's going to be looking forward to next weekend when we'll be at Phoenix, Arizona, and Phoenix International Raceway, an oval track, because Tom historically has been much better on the ovals than on road courses, and of course he lives just a few miles away from Phoenix International Raceway. He'll be a contender, we are sure, next weekend.
So Rahal continues to lead up here into turn 4, which is a fourth gear sweeping left-hander coming up on Raul Boesel and Johnny Rutherford again. Boesel looks to the inside of Rutherford. Rahal waits for the two guys to sort themselves out before he makes a move to put another lap on these two cars.
See if he can make the move as they come down the hill out of turn number 8. That's Raul Boisel moving over and allowing Bobby Rahal to pass. And now the next car that Rahal will be attempting to go around is Johnny Rutherford, and he will undoubtedly do that coming out of the hairpin here and down the straightaway. Rutherford, very sportsmanlike, moving to the high side of the racetrack and allowing the faster car of Bobby Rahal to pass by. So Johnny Rutherford goes 2 laps down in this race. Rahal, well, he has achieved just about everything already in IndyCar racing. Gary Lee talked with him, asked him about what's next in racing.
You could well be on your way to a national title. You've won Indy. What else do you want to do as far as your racing resume? Formula One?
Well, possibly down the line. It would have to be an awfully good program. I think the best program outside of Formula One right now. And frankly, right now, Formula One's going through so many problems and changes as it is. That would be something I couldn't foresee happening for two or 3 years.
Bobby Rahal thinking about Formula One, but for the moment, happy with his performance in IndyCar racing.
I think by his answer, he's only thinking about it because the question was asked. Usually, if you're thinking about something seriously, you'd have a quicker answer than that. I think Rahal is very happy with his lot here. This is a very big pond that he's playing in, and he has a big fish in the big pond too. So I think he's very happy with his lot here.
Now the crew, of course, headed by Steve Bourne and the owner of this racing team, Jim Truman, passing away from cancer right after his win at the Indianapolis 500, and it would be an achievement that they all want if they could win the national championship this year. Back with more from Laguna Seca after these messages. Tonight at midnight, we hope you're with us for the Mexican Grand Prix. The race being held this afternoon. This is the first time that they've run in Mexico City since 1970, and of course, the world driving title very much in question as Nigel Mansell leads Nelson Piquet by just 10 points with only 2 more races to go. Tonight at midnight, the Mexican Grand Prix here on ESPN with Larry Nuber and company. And there is Roger Penske as he's watching his drivers running in 3rd position, Danny Sullivan, and in 9th, Rick Mears. And the guy who has impressed us most so far, at least as far as his march toward the front, is Jeff Brabham, who began this race in 7th, and he's all the way up to 4th right now in that number 8 machine.
Jeff has had a very good run so far. He obviously had a very good pit stop also because he made up a lot of these positions during that couple of laps where people made that pit stop. But Jeff, using the Cosworth for the first time in a long time, really is showing very, very well in this Lola. Now, it is a Lola, but it is heavily modified, or somewhat modified, by the Gallus team because they like to do some of their own engineering, their own development, particularly aerodynamic development, because they are one of the very few teams who have their own wind tunnel at their disposal. So Jeff Brabham really running very, very strongly, showing that the Gallus team is definitely getting everything together here.
And this is a battle for 4th spot as Mario Andretti is pursuing Jeff Brabham. Brabham in 4th and Mario Andretti in 5th position. And I was talking to a representative of the Gallus team earlier in the weekend, and they're rather undecided at the moment as to what kind of a chassis they're going to run next year. They could run a Lola, they could run a March, or they could run a modified chassis and call it a Gallus chassis. So they're kind of up in the air at the present time. But Jeff Brabham certainly performing well here in the first 47 laps of this Laguna Seca race.
Yes, indeed, Bob. Just to continue on with that, there were suggestions earlier on that Gallus may build its own chassis right from scratch, but I think that idea has been shelved, certainly for the 87 season, because it's such an enormous undertaking. I think you'll possibly find the Gallus team buying either a March or a Lola again and sticking with what they call a customer kit car and go from there next year.
Jeff Brabham's best finish of 1986 has been at Long Beach. He was 3rd, and a couple of other top 10 finishes. He was 4th in the Michigan 500 and 7th 7th at Portland. Tight traffic at the top of the corkscrew as Jeff was able to pass Johnny Rutherford, but Mario was unable to. Now Mario able to once again put a lap on Johnny Rutherford.
Jeff was able to pass him, but not very easily. I don't think JR actually saw Jeff come up the inside because there was a little bit of lock the brake, and JR turned in. Jeff was there, had to turn back out. A little bit of a moment there for both drivers.
Johnny Rutherford is running in 15th at the moment, a couple of laps down to the leaders, or make that 3 laps down to the leaders. Once again, tight traffic here on the area of the racetrack in front of us, turn number 1, but the number 36 car driven by Randy Lewis moving over, and the faster cars passing. There is Mario Andretti, who is in 5th position, the top 5. Once again, Bobby Rahal with now an 11.5-second lead on Michael Andretti. Danny Sullivan is 3rd. 4th is Jeff Brabham, and 5th is Mario Andretti. 6th is Kogan. 7th, Emerson Fittipaldi. 8th, Roberto Guerrero. 9th, Rick Mears, so that Ilmore, Chevy, Penske not doing as well as we anticipated. Back to 9th. Raul Boisel is in 10th, and Ari Leyendijk, Jan Lammers 12th, Ed Pim 13th, Jeff McPherson running in 14th.
We talk about Rick Mears in 9th position, not running as well as we expected. Of course, it all goes back to that stalled engine in the pits. If he loses 10 or 12 seconds there, a lot of the back markers can pass him, would just put him a long way back. So Rick Mears, his trouble started right when he cut the engine in the pits.
6th, 7th, and 8th here, Kevin Kogan, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Roberto Guerrero. Battling for position out there on the racetrack. There is Kogan in the 7-11 car.
Coming up to put a lap on Ari Leyendijk in the Race for Life Provimi car. Ari not very happy all this weekend. They did make some mechanical changes to the shock absorbers in particular, but really the Provimi team have tended to lose their way a little bit this year. They've made a lot of management changes, and mid-season it's very difficult to do that, and really coming off last season when they showed so much potential, I think this year can probably only be described as a little bit frustrating for Ari in this position.
Now some tight traffic coming out of the hairpin as several cars get all tangled up, but nobody in serious trouble. Now the faster cars of Kogan and Fittipaldi go to the inside, but Emerson is unable to go inside and pass Ari Leyendijk. They get strung out just a little bit now as they go through turns 2 and 3, but some real tight traffic there coming out of the hairpin. We have completed 50 laps, so we're just past the halfway mark of the Champion Spark Plug 300 from Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California. As we overlook the mountains here in Monterey, our Napa mid-race recap shows that the average speed of the race is well above the record, 119.376. Bobby Rahal leading for 39 laps, and we have 20 cars that are still running, 9 on the lead lap. Those who have retired from competition include Tom Phillips, Alan Zer Jr., Dominic Dobson, Tom Sneva, Roberto Moreno, and Jacques Villeneuve, who most recently lost the transmission in his car. Let's get the first half race comments from Gary Lee as we go to the pit area.
Well, Bob, the first of the 2 scheduled pit stops have been made by the lead serial drivers without incident, with the exception of maybe Rick Mears. They brought the Ilmore in early. We've got a problem here on the front straightaway. Let's go back to that action.
And we have a fire. It involves the number 36 car driven by Randy Lewis. You can see flames at the rear end of the car. Not a serious fire, and Randy has been able to jump out of the machine, apparently without injury. This is reminiscent of, was it last year or 2 years ago that Mario had a problem here on the main straightaway in part with an engine fire.
That's right. Luckily, it didn't catch a hold of the car too much because it completely destroy a car in a matter of seconds. But the fire marshals were there. They did use water, because water obviously dilutes methanol, so it's the best thing they can use on these fires. But they seem to have everything in control, and Randy Lewis is out of the race, but at least the car is saved.
All right, Gary, we apologize for the interruption. We'll go back to you with your thoughts now.
We were just saying the only real incident from the lead serial drivers is that of Rick Mears. They brought the Elmore Chevy in a couple laps early by design. He killed the engine for a very costly stop. According to game plan, everything is going well for Bobby Rahal. They wanted to grab the lead early, lead as many laps as possible, stop about lap 33 or 34. They did and retained the lead. It's been a good day for the Rahal bunch down here in the pit area.
It certainly has. He maintains a very healthy advantage on Michael Andretti, who is running in second. There's the leader, Bobby Rahal, and we will resume our live coverage from Laguna Seca right after this with Rahal leading.
Charleston.
Bob Jenkins, Derek Daly, and Gary Lee back at Laguna Seca Raceway in California. We're watching third place Danny Sullivan. Right ahead of him is Michael Andretti, the second place car. They're both about 11 seconds behind the leader, Bobby Rahal. But Danny Sullivan doing a fine job. They're running there in third position.
Michael doing everything he can to catch Bobby Rahal, but really Rahal is so dominant at the moment. He has pulled out about 11 seconds of a lead and is able to maintain that quite comfortably. So Michael and Danny will do all they can to catch them and fight among themselves, but Rahal seems to be able to control the pace whatever way he wants.
It's been a very smooth race so far for Bobby Rahal, as he took over the lead from Mario Andretti very early in the going and has maintained that lead ever since, even after the first series of pit stops. Now here is Danny Sullivan running third behind Andretti. Jeff Brabham still fourth, and Mario Andretti is fifth. The work continues here along the main straightaway as they try to get that Randy Lewis car off of the racetrack. Randy experiencing an engine fire right here at the start-finish line. Through the corkscrew once again, that is Andretti and Danny Sullivan.
I suppose in a way it is fitting that the top three in the point standings are the top three in this race fighting it out, but there's a lot more racing to go yet, so we'll have to see what happens. But Rahal seems to be getting caught now by Michael Andretti.
Michael beginning to reel him in just a little bit, as the average speed of the race is at 119.63 miles an hour. Andretti has definitely closed in. He's reduced the advantage to a little over 6.5 seconds. So it's been about a 3-second movement by Michael Andretti. We'll continue to watch that situation and try to determine if that advantage is going to become even less.
Now that 3 seconds is a huge amount for anybody to gain on one particular lap. Now we don't know yet whether it's traffic or whether it's Rahal having a problem, but we will watch that situation very, very closely.
Mario Andretti continuing to run out there on the racetrack with Jeff Brabham. This is the 4th and 5th place machines. Jeff Brabham holding on to that 4th spot. He has had Mario Andretti contend with for the last few laps, but at least for the moment, Jeff Brabham has been able to hold up Andretti's challenge.
Jeff, again, as we said before, using the Cosworth engine as we watch Sullivan come into the pits for his second pit stop.
And this could be a routine stop for Danny.
It's unusual that Danny has come in before Rick this time, because the time before he came in after. You see, they are brand new tires. Those white stickers on the tires indicate that they are brand new tires going on that car. So they will take a couple of laps to heat up, but then they will work at their maximum at about lap 3 or 4.
Here is Rick Mears, Danny's teammate, off course, and he has hit something because the rear wing of that car is all messed up. But Rick is okay. He's climbing out.
He has definitely hit something quite hard. We can't see how the wing would get damaged in such a fashion. It's like as if something flew off. Another car maybe tore the wing off, but perhaps we can see it a little bit more later on. But Rick, his day is done. The car sits at a funny angle. The rear wing is smashed. Contact was made, but it looks as if there was damage done other than Rick actually hitting something. Perhaps something broke on the car.
Well, Rick saluting the applause of the spectators lining this course. He is obviously okay, having suffered no injury, but that Ilmore Chevrolet Penske machine is out of the race after a very strong qualifying performance, qualifying third fastest here this weekend. Now we go back to 4th and 5th position, Jeff Brabham and Mario Andretti.
Jeff doing an excellent job here, not intimidated in any way at all by Mario Andretti, hounding him as he is. Jeff is a very, very consistent driver, not prone to making mistakes. Very good test driver. Has come a long way with the Nissan Group C car that he's driving this year. Regularly puts it up the front and races up the front. However, the car isn't quite as reliable as he would like it yet. But Jeff Brabham having possibly one of his best races this season, still running in 4th place, now up to 3rd place ahead of Mario Andretti. 3rd place, obviously, because of the pit stop element for Danny Sullivan.
That's correct. And Jeff told us last night that he will be leaving right after this race here this afternoon to go down to Riverside to test that Nissan GTP car, and then, of course, to Phoenix next weekend for the Oval Track race, which, by the way, we will have for you live here on ESPN, our final IndyCar telecast of the 1986 season. That'll be next Sunday afternoon from Phoenix International Raceway, the 1-mile tri-oval that always provides some excellent competition. Down through the corkscrew once again, it's Jeff Brabham and Mario Andretti, 3rd and 4th position. We should be seeing now other pit stops very, very shortly. Danny Sullivan was the first to come in for a stop, but everybody else is going to have to within the next few laps.
Sullivan moved down to 5th place during that pit stop, so if everybody else has a good clean run, we should see Sullivan back up into his normal 3rd place position if everybody just has a normal pit stop.
At the moment, there are only 4 cars on the lead lap, but there will probably be at least 5 once these top 4 come in, as Sullivan will be able to gain his lap back.
Very little to choose between these 2 cars of Brabham and Andretti. They don't seem to be any particular advantage at any particular point on the track. However, the traffic, as we see here again, is probably what will sort things out. Jeff pulls away just a little bit while Mario gets stuck in traffic. But the cars seem to be handling very, very similarly, and nobody seems to have an advantage.
This has been a very safe weekend here at this racetrack. Last year, we have had, of course, a very serious accident involving Howdy Holmes at the bottom of the corkscrew, but this weekend has been almost run without serious incidents. And I think Tom Sneva's crash over there earlier in this race on lap number 39 was about the most serious crash we have seen all weekend. So obviously, the drivers respect this place. As you can see now, there are only 34 more laps to go.
Jeff comes through turn 4. We did have a couple of spinners during practice, but nothing serious. Sneva had a very dramatic moment along the back straight here when he had a little misunderstanding with Desiree Wilson. Sneva went a long way off the track at well over 150 miles an hour and had quite a heart-stopping moment. But the only other man to make any contact was Ed Pym, who lost control of his car, the Pace Skull car, exiting the corkscrew on the first day, which meant he missed the first day's qualifying.
As we told you earlier, this Lola chassis driven by Jeff Brabham has the Cosworth engine in it this weekend and not the Honda. Gary Lee talked to Jeff about that.
This weekend, all season long, you've been running that Honda. Now I see a Cosworth back in the car. What's the reason?
Well, unfortunately, with the cancellation of Elkhart Lake, all the races in a row now, we just haven't got enough engines to do all the races. So we had to take a miss on this race, and Honda should be back at Phoenix next weekend.
So we'll look forward to that next weekend as we televise for you that IndyCar race from Phoenix International Raceway. Continuing to watch Jeff Brabham and Mario Andretti for 3rd and 4th position. Once again, the lead being held by Bobby Rahal. In 2nd position is Michael Andretti. Brabham and Mario Andretti 3rd and 4th. Danny Sullivan 5th. 6th is Emerson Fittipaldi. 7th is Roberto Guerrero. 8th is Raul Boisel. 9th position is Jan Lammers. And in 10th is the number 61 car of Ari Lyondike. So those are your top 10 at the end of 66 laps, 33 more to go.
Mario running in 4th place here, or 5th place. Of course, he did start from the pole. His comment after qualifying was that he thought that the tires that they use are almost like Formula One qualifying tires now. You get 1 lap to warm them up, or maybe 2, and then there's one magic lap that you must catch them to get your ultimate best time. So his comment that the tires are now almost like Formula One qualifying tires.
We remind you once again that the Mexican Grand Prix will be on ESPN at midnight tonight. Derek, your comments on the possibility of 2 championships in Formula One next year, the non-turbocharged and the turbocharged.
Well, I think it's a very difficult situation for Formula One to have to go through. I think something had to happen because the prices and the budgets were astronomical. I mean, people had to literally write open checks to be able to win in Formula One. So really something had to happen, and I think it's going to take at least a couple of seasons before it's properly sorted out.
Ray Hall in the pits, so is Gary Lee.
As your leaders in the pits for the second of the 2 scheduled pit stops. A 4-tire change. The tires have been preheated up to close to operating temperature. They top off the 40 gallons of fuel. The inertia starter is back here just in case he has a trouble with the engine. No such problem. No, he engages the gearbox and he's underway.
17.3 seconds, Gary. You could just see the confidence in Bobby Rahall's eyes. He looked very calm, cool, and collected during that pit stop. Now here is Mario Andretti also in for a pit stop as the driver who was in 4th position comes in for his second and possible final stop of the afternoon.
New tires going on Mario's car. We said earlier on that little white sticker that's on the tire. That's what Goodyear puts on a brand new tire. So it's very, very easy to see that Mario puts on brand new tires. Now I say brand new tires because that's unusual. Most tracks you have to have the tires scrubbed in before you will get proper grip and before you dare take the chance. But this track here at Laguna Seca seems to lend itself to using brand new tires after the pit stop.
Gary Lee will cover the Michael Andretti pit stop.
And here is second place. Once again, they're changing maybe only 3 tires this time, topping off the fuel. Remember, the second pit stop up there in Michigan 2 weeks ago lost the race for Michael. He slid in on a blistered tire, ran over the air hose. No such problem. 17.8 seconds, almost identical to Bobby Rahal.
And Michael Andretti smokes the tires and pulls back out onto the racetrack, back in competition for the final 31 laps.
What we see Michael do when he stops, and also Rahal, is to grab a drink, because loss of fluid, of course, is one of the things that makes drivers make mistakes there. As we watch Emerson Fittipaldi here have his final pit stop in his tire change.
Emerson was in 6th position when he came in for the stop, so another fine run by Emerson Fittipaldi, although not as well as last weekend when he won the race.
Emerson just uses 1 new tire. You see the white sticker on that right front? All 3 are scrubbed except that right front he uses a new tire. So a little bit of a different strategy from Fittipaldi's crew here.
So now all of the top competitors have had their second pit stop and we're set up for the finish of this race. We're 70 laps out of 98 and we'll be right back. ESPN's Auto Racing 86 on the Pacific Shores this afternoon at Monterey, California, Laguna Seca Raceway for the Champion Sparkplug 300. The number 56 car of Roberto Moran, rather Rocky Moran, has come in for a stop, and there appears to be a fire, or was a fire in that car. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, indeed there was. In fact, we have been sprayed with the water down here. They were putting the alky fire out by neutralizing the alcohol with the water. All the crew members have been sprayed. One was dancing around apparently with one of the Nomex uniforms on fire. That was quickly extinguished. Rocky has jumped out. Apparently he is okay. He's standing at the left front surveying what damage there may have been. A routine pit stop that went awry for Rocky Moran.
Everybody appears to be okay, though, in the Rocky Moran pit as they try to push that car out of the way, and on the racetrack it is still a Bobby Rahal race. But the advantage on Danny Sullivan is only about 3.5 seconds. In fact, Sullivan is definitely within striking distance of Bobby. And Derek, we have been watching in the past 20 or 25 laps, Rahal's lead slowly go away. And again, we don't know whether it's because Rahal is slowing down slightly or whether Sullivan and Michael Andretti are just going faster. But there you can see the slight interval between first and second.
It's only a little bit over 3 seconds now. We saw Sullivan have an excellent pit stop earlier on, but we also saw Rahal have an excellent stop. I think Rahal is getting caught in traffic at the moment. The last time he went by here, it was down to 2 seconds. So perhaps Rahal may be taking it a little bit easy here, but Sullivan is a dangerous man to have handling you because he never lets you rest.
Well, we've got 24 laps to go, so Rahal is certainly in no position to relax very much, because with that much racing yet ahead of us, it could definitely be a situation in which Rahal loses the lead and will be unable to catch back up.
We just saw Sullivan lose that second or two there because he was the one that got badly caught in traffic, as we see Desiree smoking badly here. Smoke coming out through the exhaust system, which is obviously the engine blown well and truly. But Sullivan, we saw earlier on, lost that little advantage he had gained while Rahal was in traffic. So Rahal pulled out to about a couple of seconds a lap again. Now, during that pit stop, we also had Jeff Brabham make an excellent stop. His crew doing a very, very good job. The Gallus team, they made their stop in 13.9 seconds, which is the fastest pit stop that we've had today. So Jeff Brabham maintains his fourth place with very, very good pit work.
Desiree Wilson climbs out of the car. This is what happened. She was coming out of the corkscrew through turn number 6, a big puff of smoke from the car, and Desiree immediately getting off of the accelerator and comes in with some mechanical problems, not able to speculate exactly what the problem is, but it's enough to put her out of the race. Desiree, by the way, with this start, ties Janet Guthrie for the most number of starts by a female driver. Desiree Wilson in the Machinist Union, car number 55.
Not a very good weekend for Desiree. As we see the interval now, 3.4 seconds. So Sullivan did lose 1.5 seconds on that little traffic jam at the corkscrew in the last race. And Rahal has just done a lap of 55.9, which is about half a second faster than he's gone all day. So I don't think there's anything wrong with Rahal.
And now with clear sailing between himself and Bobby Rahal, Sullivan now will try to close in once again, and we'll keep an eye on the interval. Once again, last lap it was about 3.4 seconds. Desiree Wilson drops out of competition. Gary Lee is with her in the pit area.
Desiree, I can't tell if it's frustration or anger. What exactly put you out?
We've been having problems with the engine since we arrived, and I guess it's just a matter of time when it's, something had to let go.
So obviously both anger and frustration.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's tough to try and fight an engine that's not working good.
All right, so Desiree is out for the Machinist Union.
Desiree Wilson out of competition with mechanical problems, a blown engine, and here is Bobby Rahal once again at the top of the hill, headed down through the corkscrew. 4.3 seconds was the last interval, so it's about the same.
Desiree is in a very difficult situation because I've known her for many years, and I've seen her drive many different cars, including Formula One, including Grand Prix racing Formula One, and she is a superb driver. But it's so difficult for her to break into what we would term as the man's world of racing. It's very difficult for her to convince teams to give her the chance. And Andy Kanapensky, fair play to him, did step up and say, Desiree, I will give you a chance to run. Now, it hasn't quite worked out exactly as she would have wanted, but Desiree is a superb driver and really deserves a good chance.
We are 78 laps into this race with 20 more to go. Bobby Rahal leads. We'll be back with more live coverage from Laguna Seca. Kogan. Next Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, live coverage of this IndyCar race from Phoenix International Raceway. Here at Laguna Seca, it's a good race, and it's a Bobby Rahal race at the moment. However, Danny Sullivan is continuing the pursuit and continuing the charge. The interval is now down to about 1.5 seconds. There is Rahal going inside and lapping Jan Lammers, but right behind is Danny Sullivan. You can see how that interval is tightening up. Sullivan may be in a position to challenge very, very shortly.
That's right. That was actually Ed Pym that they put a lap on. Ed did move over and let the leaders go through, but Ray Hall is definitely under the pressure from Sullivan. Sullivan has taken the gap down now to less than a second, as you can see here. Sullivan is definitely going to put the pressure on Ray Hall, but we'll have to see with the Ray Hall how he copes with this pressure.
Danny Sullivan's year has not been especially successful, although he has won 2 races this year, 2 in a row as a matter of fact, but other than that, it's been disappointment at times this season for Danny Sullivan. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, the Brain Trust has gone to work down here in the Ray Hall pit. I went to Steve Horn, the team manager. I said, is there a problem because Sullivan is closing in? He was very sharp to say, no. They are trying to figure now the fuel consumption. They haven't figured out that Bobby can keep the boost all the way up and get 1.8 miles per gallon, which will give him 1 extra lap. That's cutting it close.
Well, that's another thing that we'll have to consider now as we enter the closing stages of this race. Does everyone have enough fuel? You must get 1.8 miles per gallon. That's the amount of fuel that's given each individual team, and you've got to make it last.
Well, it's one thing in a circuit to catch somebody like Sullivan, to catch Ray Hall, but it's definitely at Laguna Seca another thing to pass the driver in front. Now, we saw some daring maneuvers earlier on at the corkscrew. We've seen Sullivan barge his way to the front before, knock people out of the way, particularly Ray Hall at the Meadowlands. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds.
There you can see how tight it is.
I think traffic is going to play a big part in this again. Earlier on, we've seen gaps close up and expand because of the traffic. Now, Ray Hall will have to try and anticipate a little bit better what the traffic ahead of him is going to do. Sullivan can sit back and wait and hope that Ray Hall gets caught, and then he can pounce. So really, the heavy pressure is on Ray Hall.
Danny Sullivan's 2 wins this year came at the Meadowlands and in Cleveland. They were back-to-back wins. As far as top 10 finishes are concerned, a 4th at Phoenix, a 2nd at Toronto. Then a couple of disappointing finishes for Danny, a 3rd at Mid-Ohio, a 5th at St. Air, and a 6th last weekend at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The elevations and the very tight corners here at Laguna Seca make setting up a race car very, very difficult as we watch the leaders once again thread their way through the slower traffic, putting another lap on Ari Lyondike. This track is a very difficult one to set up a race car for. And in line with that, Derek Daly has this report on exactly what a team does to set up a car.
Auto racing is known very much for its expensive and high-tech equipment, as some teams have more than others. But common to every team are 2 very important small pieces of equipment: a pencil and a piece of paper known as a setup sheet.
Basically, all I'm doing is recording all the notes that, all the information that he gives me. And we sit down at the end of the session and compile all the information and work out where we may have gone wrong or where we may have improved. Any little change that we make on the race car, we write down. Any tire pressure, any spring rate, any shock absorber change we might make, we write down. So that if we get into any trouble, we can go back through the notes and work out maybe where we went wrong or where we went right, and what the driver liked and didn't like. So we can just work from the notes to make him as comfortable as we possibly can.
This is a typical setup sheet the crew chiefs would use. On the left of the page is the chassis settings. Now, everything that goes into the car, i.e. springs or wing settings, is noted before the car goes on the track. The next column is the time. Every lap time made by the driver is noted. The next is the driver comments. Everything the driver says is written down here so as they can check their notes, see what changes they need to make. While he's running around on the track, they can still discuss the chassis settings and change the car next time he comes in. The final column is action taken. Every time they change the car, they need to know everything they change, so as if it's wrong, they can come back to what they had originally. Now, at the end of the race meeting, this piece of paper is taken away and put into the file. Next year when they come here, they'll take out the same piece of paper, go through it, and hopefully try and eliminate some of the mistakes they may have made.
That's the way you set up a race car to drive this track, but you've also got to have fuel to finish the race. We heard Gary Lee talk talk about the Bobby Rahal fuel situation. Gary, what do you hear from the Danny Sullivan people?
Well, Bobby, there's a poker game being played down here, and nobody wants to show their hand right now, but I think there is some major concern in both camps about fuel. I talked to Chuck Sprague, the crew chief for Danny Sullivan. He said we came in early because there was an indication from the cockpit, i.e. that fuel light, that we were running low. So Sullivan stopped early. He has to push it with the boost up to stay with Bobby Rahal. If that is the case, there may not be enough fuel to make it all the way without stopping again. So there's grave concern right now at both ends of the pit area. The pit entrance with Rahal, the pit exit with Sullivan. There may not be enough fuel.
The drama continues, and the interval between first and second is 1.5 seconds, and it is closing. Bobby Rahal leads Danny Sullivan back after this. For the second year in a row, we are seeing a great IndyCar race at Laguna Seca Raceway, Monterey, California. Today's purse is $500,000. The winner will get about $50,160, and the leader at the moment is Bobby Rahal, and he is trying to lengthen the interval between himself and Danny Sullivan, but Sullivan is hanging right in there with about a 1-second advantage now. They come down the corkscrew from the highest elevation portion of this racetrack, and Sullivan is right on Rahal's tail. We only have 10 more laps to go as 88 have been completed, and the race will be for 98 laps. It is Sullivan, Michael Andretti third, Jeff Brabham fourth, followed by Mario Andretti, Roberto Guerrero, Emerson Fittipaldi, Raul Boesel, Jan Lammers, and Kevin Kogan. Those are the top 10, and the interval, as you can see, just about 1 second. The question is, can Sullivan hold on, or can he catch Rahal? And the other serious question that we have at this point is, do they have enough fuel to go the distance? Well, all that will be known in the next 10 laps.
I think a key to this fuel problem may be the fact that Rahal was the last car of the leading group to stop on that first pit stop. That, to me, suggests that he, if anybody of these two, is getting the better fuel mileage. So I think Rahal is not in as chancy a situation as Sullivan. Now, we've seen Sullivan before chase hard and have to make fuel stops with 1 lap to go. So I think Rahal may be just in a slightly better position here as regards fuel.
We'll resume our live coverage of the Champion Spark Plug 300 from Laguna Seca Raceway after these messages. Rahal leading Sullivan. 7 more laps remaining in this 98-lap race here in California. IndyCars at Laguna Seca. And Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan running first and second. And it is my opinion that unless Rahal runs out of fuel, he's going to win this race. I don't think that Sullivan is going to be able to catch him, but anything can happen.
We see the gap becoming bigger all the time here as the laps go by. Now, it's not that Sullivan is dropping back. It's that Rahal has turned the wick up just a little bit. He was lapping at a 55.9 earlier on. He then went down to 55.7, and his last lap was 55.3. So he is taking the wind out of Sullivan's sails at the moment.
But Rahal may be taking a chance in doing that, in turning up the boost and running out of fuel. So don't leave, because this thing is far from over. And we only have, when they come around, it'll complete lap number 93, and we'll have 5 more laps remaining. Here comes Rahal down through corner number 8. Now into number 9, the hairpin. We'll get an interval between first and second as they cross the line. Rahal swings out of the corner now, and will cross the start-finish line. Clock begins, clock ends. It's 1.9 seconds, so yes, the interval is spreading just a little.
Now our information is that Sullivan, his fuel light, which did come on earlier on because we saw him make an early second pit stop, our indications from the pits, and maybe Gary Lee can get down there and check it out for us, is that Sullivan's fuel light may be on. So Sullivan may be backing off.
Okay, here's Jeff Brabham in the pits, and Jeff running in 5th place. He may have some fuel problems. Looks like they're topping off the tanks in that car, and he's being pushed back out. But Jeff is going to lose some positions because of that stop. He was 5th.
He may not lose a position because he was 1 lap ahead of Roberto Guerrero. So Jeff, although he did have to stop, he lost position to Mario Andretti. He lost his 4th place, but I think he will still maintain his 5th position.
Well, Derek, if you were in Sullivan's shoes, what would you do? Would you turn up the boost and go for it? And if you run out of fuel, that's the way it goes?
It's such a difficult thing because these fuel lights are not always super accurate. So although it flashes and it may even come on, the worst fear that Sullivan will have is that he will back off and throw away a possible race win, and then the mechanics find 10 gallons of fuel in the tank at the end of the race. But I think if he's been through this before and run out of fuel, which he has done, I think he may take the 2nd place.
We'll know the answer to that in just a few more minutes.
Of course, bearing in mind, the man he's trying to catch and pass is Bobby Rahal. As you see, Jeff Brabham still in trouble. Brabham did stop, got the fuel top up, but there's something else wrong with that car. I don't think the fuel is quite cured the problem. So Jeff has to hang on because we're on 95 of 98 laps. 3 laps to go. Jeff Brabham still has to hang on to his 7th position now. So he's lost 2 places. Yeah, Roberto Guerrero has gone up to 5th. Emerson Fittipaldi has also passed him. Jeff is now down to 7th place.
Yeah, that was a pass for position, but Jeff is going to try to get it back. Ooh, they go 3 abreast into the corkscrew, and by golly, Jeff got it back. So Jeff goes up to 6th now. Emerson back to 7th. They are racing for position here. That pit stop by Brabham brought him out onto the track right with Emerson Fittipaldi. But now Brabham makes a nice pass and goes into 6th position, but there was a problem with the car as he came off of the hairpin last lap. Just seemed to have a loss of power there for a moment. No problem this time, however, as when he stands on the accelerator, the car performs well, and he stays ahead of Emerson Fittipaldi. You can see how close the leader, Bobby Rahal, is to lapping this group of 6th and 7th position. They are all 1 lap down to the leader, Bobby Rahal, but he is trying to put them 2 laps down. Rahal continues to motor around this 1.9-mile road course in flawless fashion.
And of course, Rahal now still having the traffic problem. Still 2 laps to go. But the last time by here, the gap again was down to under 2 seconds. So the traffic definitely seems to hamper Rahal more so than Sullivan. And if Rahal has the slightest hiccup in the last 2 laps, Sullivan will pounce.
All right. We're nearing the completion of lap number 97. The white flag will come out this time around. Bobby Rahal out of corner number 9 onto the straightaway. The white flag is displayed by Nick Minoro, the official starter for championship auto racing teams. There is 1 more circuit to go. Will it be Rahal? Will it be Sullivan? Let's find out as the cars move up through corner number 2, begin the long climb uphill.
If everything stays as it is, and both cars and engines run properly, it's almost impossible for Sullivan to catch Rahal now. Rahal could make a mistake. We can't see any traffic in his way for the remaining half of this final lap. So Rahal is in a very secure position, but Sullivan is there, shadowing him, following his every move.
Out of turn number 7, now entering turn number 8, Bobby Rahal about to add his 6th win to his portfolio in kart PPG IndyCar World Series competition in 1986. Here he is off of corner number 9. The checkered flag falls, and Bobby Rahal has won the Champion Sparkplug 300 from Laguna Seca Raceway. Danny Sullivan finishes in 2nd position, 1.4 seconds behind. Unofficially, Michael Andretti will come in 3rd position, Mario 4th, and Roberto Guerrero 5th. Debbie Rahal celebrates with the rest of the crew.
Debbie has had many, many days to celebrate this year because it's such a fantastically successful season for Bobby. And indeed, he set another record today because this is the only time anyone has won 3 kart road races in a row here at Laguna Seca. Or in fact, in any racing class, to run 3 in a row here.
So Bobby Rahal salutes the crowd, and we'll be back to talk with him in Victory Lane in just a moment. Hall visits Victory Lane for the 6th time this year, and our winner interview is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagles. You either have Goodyear Eagles or you need them. Here's Gary Lee.
Well, right now there's a conversation going on between Bobby and second place Danny Sullivan. Bobby, we don't always get some of the prize remarks you guys make when you pull into Victory Lane. Show us the blister again, and what was the comment about the golf game?
I said there went my golf game tomorrow.
That's his major concern. He wins 3 in a row here at Laguna Seca, and he's concerned about his golf game. First of all, congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. On behalf of Budweiser, I think the crew just did a super job. Car ran real well. We took a gamble last night. We tried a setup that we hadn't really practiced with, and it worked just beautifully. Right from the word go, we were able to run hard, and I lowered the revs down to save fuel a little bit, and Danny caught up, and then it was no holds barred from there on in.
How far out did you have the boost turned up?
Well, it was turned up all the way, but we were just cutting down the revs, try to save some fuel, and he caught back up to me, and traffic got close a couple times, but I felt like we could outrun him when we were in clear traffic, and I think we were able to do that.
You did your job on the racetrack, but Steve Horn, the crew, did their job in the pit area.
Yeah, they sure did. You know, I can't thank Steve Horn and my old True Sports crew. I mean, 6 wins in 1 year. This is a dream come true, and you know, what more can you say? It's just a great day for us.
There he is, Bobby Rahal, 3 in a row here at Laguna Seca.
All right, congratulations to Bobby Rahal and to Danny Sullivan and all of those who finished this grueling contest here at Laguna Seca here this afternoon. The top 10 finishers: Rahal, Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Mario 4th, Roberto Guerrero 5th, 6 through 10, Jeff Brabham, Emerson Fittipaldi, Jan Lammers finishes 8th, Kevin Kogan 9th, and Ari Lyondike comes home in 10th. We'll be back to have some closing comments and wrap it up after this message.
The first look.
Once again, the top 5 finishers of the Champion Sparkplug 300: Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti, and Roberto Guerrero. The race summary, and it was a 98-lap race, shows that the time of the race was 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 20 seconds. The average speed, 119.69, a new record. There were 4 leaders, 6 lead changes, 7 cars were on the lead lap at the end of the race, and 13 out of the 24 that started were still running. So it was a very clean race. The only accident to speak of really was Tom Snevas, and that certainly was not a serious crash. Now, as far as the points are concerned, Bobby Rahal maintains the lead. In fact, he has now a 9-point advantage on Michael Andretti. Sullivan remains 3rd, but he is now 28 points behind. Mario is 4th in the points, and Al Unser Jr. is 5th as we go to Phoenix International Raceway next Sunday afternoon for a 200-miler there. Well, this race at Laguna Seca, the Champion Sparkplug 300, has been brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Mobil 1 Synthetic Motor Oil. Mobil 1 protects your engine better than any conventional motor oil. Our congratulations to previous winners today. Jan Beekes won the Russell Mazda race.